Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome, everyone, to episode 105 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. It is your main man, T-Square, Tristan Thomas. Thank you so very much for joining us. What do we got on tap this week? We're talking Bucks basketball. Giannis with a 50-piece. New faces. What are my thoughts? We'll discuss. Short note on the Brewers because, that lockout don't look like it's in an end time soon. And the Green Bay Packers are now into the offseason. A lot of new faces there. Updates on free agents, Rodgers situation. We'll discuss. But you know how we get things started here on Toss. We get things started with the state of the state. And let's get to the Bucks. Bucks played Tuesday night as we record this on a Wednesday. A victory over the Indiana Pacers. And we're in the post-trade deadline zone now. So a lot of new faces, or a lot of same faces, but a lot of new places. And the Bucks are no different to that. Bucks traded Donte DiVincenzo, Rodney Hood, Shimi Ojale, essentially because it was a multi-team trade, but essentially for Serge Ibaka and a couple of second-round picks. And I really like that move. Now, Donte had been traded before. We know about the Bogdanovich collapse. Woj possibly, Adrian Wojnarowski, possibly leaking information that he was not supposed to. Bucks get slapped with tampering, even though the Bulls had a far worse situation and they were let off with a slap on the wrist. But I digress. Donte DiVincenzo, he is no stranger to having been traded before because he was an integral part of that trade to possibly bring Bogdanovich over. Now, all's well that ends okay. Donte had a really good year. It's unfortunate that he ended up getting hurt in playoffs. But you go on to win the world championship. So all's well that ends okay. Well, he's now gone, and I wish him nothing but the best. Did everything right. It was just time. And plus, the Bucks had a need, with Brook having been out. And there is the possibility of him coming back. I reported a few weeks ago where he was on the court doing some workouts, and coaches had to kind of yell at him because he was jumping, and he's not supposed to be jumping yet. He's still doing individual work. I feel like he will be back sometime before the end of the regular season to try to slowly get into a groove. Another guy that you hope to get back in a few weeks, Pat Connaughton. Speedy recovery for him. He ended up breaking his hand, had surgery on it. The prognosis is he'll be back in about 4 weeks. So it's a much better prognosis than what they had been fearing. Everything is 6 weeks and possibly gone for the season. But that won't be the case. But with the Ibaka, with the trade for Ibaka, and you see him in his introductory press conference, he's excited. The chance to come over to the world champions and provide them with exactly what they were missing with Brook Lopez being out, which is 3-point shooting and rim protection. It is something that you've been missing. Now, I've said ad nauseum, and I'll keep saying it. This Bucks defense is at its best when they have a guy who is the anchor in the middle, and Giannis is a free roaming defender. Now, Giannis is still a really good defender. He can get it done on the perimeter. He can get it done in the post. He could be that eraser. And in my eyes, in my opinion, he is the leading candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. He's also the leading candidate for MVP. Nobody in the history of the game has won MVP and Defensive Player of the Year in the same season twice. Giannis is currently in line to do that. We'll see how the rest of the season shakes up, and you got to hope for health and hope for continuous success as a team. But right now, as we're talking right here on Toss, he is in line to do just that. But this whole entire defense is at its best when Giannis is that free roaming defender. He can help to erase mistakes or even prevent them from happening. And you have that anchor in the middle just in case mistakes are made on the perimeter. And that's what Brook Lopez was. And I think people were really poo-pooing his loss after he left. And he only played one game this season. That's a season opener against the Nets. And when he left with that injury, and you found out that he was going to be out for an extended period of time, and then eventually he was having back surgery, which is a big uh-oh. Mid-30s, big man with a back injury. That's never good. I think people kind of felt like, okay, well, we'll be all right. And you found ways to win, but and the defense is still decent, but it's not at that same level as it would be if you had Brook. Now, we'll see how Ibaka gets integrated into all of this. First couple of games out, he's played very well. He's moving very well, and he's proving to be exactly what we thought he was going to be, that rim protector, and give you a little bit of. Now, he's not here to score. That's not why the Bucks made the trade. They made that trade because of his defensive ability. The shooting is a bonus. And he's shooting in the high 30s, I believe about 38% from three this season. I mean, it's more than respectable. So I really like that trade, and I like the fact that John Horst, the GM, got picks back in return. Because that's something that they'd been missing is draft capital, because they've been having to use so much of it up to acquire the players to get you to a world championship. Drew Holiday probably cost you the most as far as draft capital went. It was worthwhile. You were able to re-sign him, and you won a championship. And he's out there performing yet again. You have a nucleus. You have a foundation with Giannis, Chris, and Drew. So it was well worth the draft capital spent, but you like to have that just in case you need to make some other moves that might cost you more than what the players that you have. So really a great job by Horst, and they're not done. They're not done. They signed DeAndre Bembry, formerly of the Nets, Raptors, guard forward, good defensively. Could be a really good sneaky pick there for a team that is really in need of guard depth. I think that's a good signing. But the thing that you need to keep your eye on is Goran Dragic, who had his contract bought out. He will be a free agent. And a lot of teams are going to be pushing hard for his services, including the Milwaukee Bucks. We know he's tough. He's hard-nosed. He can get to the cup. He can shoot. I think he'd be a really good fit. But you have some other teams that are in that fight with you to try to acquire him, acquire his services. So you got to come with it. How much they're going to be able to do, I'm not sure, because they are spending as close to the cap as they possibly can. They added to their luxury tax bill in trading for Ibaka, taking on that salary. Ownership always said, hey, we will spend over the cap if it makes sense. Well, it's making sense. this squad, this team is still very much a work in progress. Got guys out, guys back in. Now you're making trades. You're on the buyout market. Still going to be integrating guys back into the fold when you get them back. Pat will be coming back. And Brooke is in line to really come back at some point. So they're still very much a work in progress, and I am a firm believer that their best basketball is ahead of them. This is a team, and again, this is something else I said ad nauseum, and I'm going to keep saying it. This team is now judged by what they do in postseason. This team is judged by what they do in postseason. Now, you want to do everything you can in the regular season to qualify for postseason. Stay out of that play-in range. And right now, the Eastern Conference is an absolute knife fight. It's an absolute night fight. Bucks are in third, but they're only a game and a half out of first in the East. I mean, you go on a 1, 2, 3 game losing streak, you could find yourself in play-in range. That's how much parity there is in the Eastern Conference right now. That's how much of a knife fight it is in the Eastern Conference right now. And we're used to seeing the Western Conference like that. And they're not quite like that this year. It's the Eastern Conference that's much deeper. So you want to do everything you possibly can to qualify for the playoffs. You want to continue to have success in the regular season, build good habits, win ball games. Put yourself in the best position to be able to have as much home court as you possibly can in the postseason. Because to this point this season, you've been far better at home than you have been on the road. I believe the Bucks have won 20 games at home and 16 on the road, which is what you want to do. You want to win most of your home games and go about 500 on the road. But that home court advantage is important. So you want to do everything you possibly can in the regular season. Again, qualify for the playoffs, build good habits, put yourself in a good position for postseason. But you also want to set yourself up for postseason. Set yourself up to start peaking when you get to postseason. Start playing your best basketball at that point, heading into it and while you're in it. So the Bucks are still very much a work in progress. But I still feel their best basketball is ahead of them. We'll obviously keep an eye on them, see what they do. 36-23, third in the East. Giannis with that 50-piece yesterday. Whew. Domination. Eerily similar to Game 6 of the NBA Finals, 50-14. Made most of his free throws. 50 points on 21 shots is just insane. All right, let's keep it moving here on Tall State of the State. Let's dip over to Milwaukee and the Brewers. Pitchers and catchers were supposed to have reported yesterday. Again, we're recording this program on a Wednesday. We're talking about February 15th, Tuesday. Pitchers and catchers were supposed to report. They did not. Why? Because the lockout continues. Owners and players are not even close at this point. And it's starting to get even more ugly. Owners tried to call for a mediator to be in, and Players Association said, nope. Why bring a mediator in when you guys have not been negotiating in good faith? So that continues to be a fist fight. But amongst that lockout and that lack of action, MLB did decide to make the DH universal. So it is not just exclusive to the AL anymore. The NL now has the DH. Now, there's some people who will love it. You don't have to put your pitcher out there in harm's way and put him on the base paths and, have a freak injury like we seen with Jimmy Nelson. He was on the base paths and pitcher's throwing over. He's trying to slide back to first base and rips up his shoulder. He's out for the rest of the year. He was having a really good year that year. Took him a long time to come back from that. So on the one hand, you don't have the pitcher out there, and it's not considered an automatic out. And don't get me wrong, I know some pitchers break. I know Brandon Woodruff is probably not going to be too happy about the universal DH, but knowing Craig Counsell, he'll probably put him in a pinch hit situation somewhere. But on the flip side, some people may not like it because it's like, oh, man, it takes away strategy from the game. In the NL, it's more of a chess game, and you have to move these pieces and account for the pitcher pitching, and you have to bring up your best pinch hitter at the perfect moment, and it just takes away from the chess match of the game, and it really doesn't. Now, in my opinion, it doesn't. I think it's a good thing because now one of those hot bats that you had on the bench, well, they're not riding the pine anymore. Their job is to go out there and hit. You're going to get at-bats every day. You don't have to be out in the field, so you don't have to worry about that wear and tear. You come out here and you hit. You produce. It's been going on in the AL forever. It's time the NL adopted it. I am for it. I think it's a good move now. It matters not if they don't get together, owners, players, and figure this thing out. And I know the players are fighting for a better future for not just themselves currently, but for everybody that's going to come after them. And the minor leaguers who are absolutely just getting shafted. With how if you were to see, and I would encourage everybody to just go and look it up. If you would see how much some of these minor league players are getting paid, it's a joke. They're better off just going to get regular careers, but they don't because they love the game. It's a joke. So they're trying to fight for them and all the players that come after them, as well as them currently. So I get it, stand firm. But at some point, you just hope it gets figured out between the two sides. You really do. You don't like to see a work stoppage. I'm not sure season's not going to start on time. There's no way. There's no way the season's going to start on time. No way. And if it keeps going any longer, you're definitely going to end up with an abbreviated season. It's not going to be 162. But we'll see. That continues to be a stalemate between the owners who have locked out the players of the MLB. All right, continuing on, state of state here on Toss. Let's get to and finish up with the Green Bay Packers. Season's over. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams. They pushed all their chips to the middle of the table. Went and got OBJ. And speedy recovery to him. Tearing his ACL a second time in the Super Bowl, and he was cooking the Bengals' secondary, absolutely flaming them. He was on his way to a huge game. He was probably going to end up being Super Bowl MVP, but, man, you hate to see that. It's a bittersweet thing because he now has to go through the arduous task of surgery and rehab all over again. But you won a championship. Reminds me of Charles Woodson, who went down in the first half of Super Bowl 45 and with a ripped up shoulder and collarbone. Inspired the guys at halftime. They came out and they finished the deal. So it kind of reminds me a lot of that. But congratulations to the Rams. Like I said, they pushed in their chips to the middle of the table. Like I said, got OBJ, acquired Von Miller. Got a an older Eric Weddle to come out of retirement who tore his bicep in 2 different places, or his pec in 2 different places. And oh my gosh. Now he's retiring, but he's retiring as a champion. Makes you think about, okay, they went all in. Will the Packers do the same? But we'll get to that in a second. A lot of changes now that we're into offseason have already been made or occurred with the Green Bay Packers, mostly to their coaching staff. Nathaniel Hackett, who was the offensive coordinator, well, now he's the head man out in Denver. He brings a lot of experience with him. He really reinvented himself from his stops and when he was with Buffalo, and it was just a criminal misuse of CJ Spiller when he was there, and just that whole offense was just absolutely inept, and he was the offense coordinator, and you just wondered how in the hell did he get a job. But we know how he got a job. It's nepotism, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But it was just not good. He goes to Jacksonville. He's down there with Doug Marrone. They have a pretty good offense down there. He went to the AFC Championship game. Okay, he reinvented himself. Now he stops in Green Bay. And Green Bay gradually got better offensively. Obviously, it's Matt LaFleur's offense, but, they're in a collaborative effort with each other. So he's a guy that really reinvented himself. Now he gets his chance as a head man out in Denver. Luke Getsy, who was your quarterback's coach, is now with your rival. He is the Bears' offensive coordinator. And you were not going to be able to retain both Getsy and Stinovich. It was going to be one of the two. And Getsy is the one that goes, and he gets his promotion. And Stinovich gets his promotion as well. He is now the offensive coordinator, was the offensive line coach, did a phenomenal job with that offensive line this season. Throughout all the injuries and all of it, the adversity, he kept that line together, and they were still one of the best lines in all of the National Football League. Well, now he's the offensive coordinator. Will not have play calling duties, obviously, because Matt LaFleur calls his own plays. But he does get that nice title, get that nice promotion. And you still have him there with that wealth of knowledge of what to do on the offensive line. Mo Drayton, no longer special teams coach. That should have happened. Okay, let me stop. It would be a knee-jerk reaction for me to say that should have happened during the season. Who are you going to get? But it was really problematic, and I know we spoke about this before. It was really problematic that Matt LaFleur decided to promote the guy that was the assistant to the guy he had just fired. It's the same lessons being taught from a different teacher. It typically does not work, and it did not. It cost the Packers potentially a championship. We will never know. It definitely cost them a divisional round playoff win. That's for sure. In the firing of Mo Drayton, they got his replacement, which was long rumored, and they made a hard push after him, and they got their man, Rich Bisaccia, former interim head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders, was their special teams coach. It's a guy who knows special teams. He's finished with a ton of top 10 special teams units. He knows what he's doing. It's a big get for them. Now what they have to do is address the players on that side of the ball, in that phase of the ball, of the game. You could get the new coordinator and you can have new, fresh lessons, and they could be really good lessons. But unless you have the players out there that are able to execute those lessons, those plans, it means nothing. So you have half the equation solved. You got a new guy in there, a guy who's proven that he could do the job of special teams and have success with it and make it a factor. Now you need to address who your personnel is in that phase of the game. That has to get better. That is on Goot. That is on the scouting team. And it's really on coaches as well. They have to address that. They have to get better in that phase of the game. Now, with the offseason comes all the rumors. As soon as Nathaniel Hackett was named head coach of the Denver Broncos, all the rumors of, Rodgers to Denver, Davante Adams to Denver. That's the new one that just came out. It's going to be a headache. It's going to be a headache. I said it. The people I've spoken to have said it. They believe it's just going to be a gigantic headache because everybody is going to claim that they had, much like last offseason, and I said it right here on Toss. If somebody is telling you that they know this with great certainty, 100% certainty, they're lying to you because nobody knew anything. They were trying to keep that as much behind closed doors as they possibly could. And they're still doing the same thing. The people I've spoken to have said it seems as if the relationship between Rodgers and the front office gradually improved during the regular season. They feel that it's still in a pretty good spot. They're still growing and improving to do. But you look at that speech that he gave after he won his 4th MVP and his 2nd straight. And congratulations to Rodgers on that. He was clearly the best player in all of football. It kind of felt like he was giving a pseudo retirement speech, right? He thanked everybody and said how blessed his life was and how fortunate he is and how grateful he is for it all and how they made him feel very special. But he's come out and already said, hey, I haven't made a decision one way or the other. He's also said that he wasn't going to drag this out. Free agency begins in less than a month. Now I'm trying to get information on a timeline on when they believe that Rodgers will have that decision made. And again, it's very hard information to get because nobody really knows anything outside of Rodgers and just a couple of people. But I will continue to do my best to keep everybody abreast of that situation. Davante Adams, the rumors coming out, he's asking for $30 to $35 million a year. I'm just going to flat out tell you that I have not heard that number come from his camp. That is not a number I have heard come from his camp. I'll leave it at that. But it's not just those two. Obviously, they're big cogs of this team and big cogs of this offense. Whenever somebody asks me, well, do you think Rodgers will come back next year? I say, yeah, I think he will come back. Well, how are they going to do that? Well, they're going to do it on a one-to-one deal and have a bunch of voidable years, much the same way they did with Aaron Jones's contract. Give them as much money as they possibly can on a signing bonus, have a bunch of voidable years, make it a one-to-one deal where you can make that decision. He has that option, and then he has voidable years after. You got a ton of guys who were on short-term contracts and a ton of guys that you need to make decisions on. Zadarius Smith, you need to make a decision on. Preston Smith, you need to make a decision on. Do you re-sign Devondre Campbell, who was an all-pro? Rasul Douglas, who was probably one of the best finds in addition to Devondre Campbell you could ever find. I mean, what do you do? And I know there's a lot of other guys that I'm missing. I know that, but it's a long laundry list of guys who need to be, who have decisions that need to be made on. I don't envy Brian Gutekunst or Russ Ball at all. It is going to be some real hard, real tough decisions made. This team is going to look different in a lot of areas. But I believe that they are in a zone where they too can go all in. And if they firmly believe that Rodgers is coming back, and they firmly believe that they could get some of these other contract issues solved with other guys that need to resign, especially on that defense, they could potentially go all in, much like the Rams, and finish the deal next season. So it's a lot, I know. But decisions are going to have to be made either way. You're going to have to feel the team either way. But do you have the guts to say, all right, 1 year, all in, let's go finish it? An offseason of difficult decisions coming up for the Green Bay Packers. Well, y'all, that'll do it for me. This is episode 105 of the Tristain Sports Show Toss. Y'all know where to find me on social media at the20double. That's at the number 2, the number 0, and the word double on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me there. Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. It's a Tristain Sports Show Facebook page. Touch on a lot of things there that we don't necessarily get a chance to here on the show. That's Facebook.com/T on Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. And of course, TossNationMedia.com, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. It's been T Squared Tristan Thomas reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week, so long from Toss.